Boston Celtics look broken. They're losing to teams that have a losing record. They're losing at home and on the road. And right now, Boston, it seems like they can't make an open shot to save their lives. On both sides of the basketball, the number one thing in common is Boston looks like they don't care. And that is extremely upsetting to watch because Boston should be playing with their utmost trajectory of trying to win back to back. So before we break down what's really going on with Boston, what Kristaps Porzingis had to say after they lost the Toronto Raptors, a team they should not have lost to last night, go on ahead and rate your level of concern with the Boston Celtics. Scale it 1 to 10. 1 being I have no concern whatsoever. It's January. Who gives a crap? 10 as in might as well pack it up right now. The season is over. There is no way we can win by playing the way we're playing right now. So go on ahead and scale it in the comment section down below. And if you guys are living under a rock and you're thinking, Allie, why are we panicking? What's going on? Didn't we just win the NBA Finals? We did. But the last month and a half has been very daunting for a lot of Boston Celtics fans. The amount of L's that you see in their schedule is not normal, especially for Boston, who never, ever lost more than 2 games in a row last season. They would go on 12-game win streaks, 8-game win streaks. Now we're struggling to maintain a 3-game win streak. This is what's starting to get very frustrating about watching the Boston Celtics, is because what NBA teams have to deal with every single year is they have to adjust to all the trades and new players that do come into their roster. But for Boston, it's not just losing. Boston has the exact same roster that they have last year. It's the having zero spark. They have no intimidation factor. They have no energy watching the Celtics play night in and night out. And I get it. It's January. Not a lot of NBA teams are putting their best foot forward. But Boston right now is not even in the number 1 spot in the Eastern Conference. There should be something to strive for every single game. And they forget, and maybe it's because they were so far ahead in the standings last season that they think, yeah, all right, we can lose to the Raptors. All right, we can lose to the Kings. We can lose to the Bulls. Doesn't really matter because when it comes playoff time, we're going to switch it on. That's not how it works. The regular season matters. What you do on a Wednesday night in January does ultimately matter. And I want to bring it back to the beginning of the season when the target was on the Boston Celtics' back because they were the reigning champions. Joe Mazzulla said, we don't want the target on our backs. We want it right here, dead smack in the middle of our eyes so that we can see all of our opponents coming after us. Well, guess what? Your opponents are putting your best foot forward. When you watch the Raptors, the Magic, the Bulls, when they played the Boston Celtics, it is like they are competing for the NBA championship. The level of intensity that these guys are giving is unmatched. But Boston is seeing it firsthand. R.J. Barrett, Kobe White, Karl Anthony Towns, Cole Anthony coming in here and absolutely wreaking havoc because they're excited to play the champions. Boston is the one that's not matching the energy. Boston is the one that's coming in here and not really giving a shit if they win or lose this game. Your opponent is right there, dead smack in the middle of your eyes, and you are giving nothing. The last month and a half, they have had some of their ugliest losses that I have seen in the last year and a half watching this roster play together. They lost by 9 to the Chicago Bulls. Kobe White, Lonzo Ball, Chicago Bulls. It's sad. And then you go and you lose the 76ers on Christmas Day, a game you never, ever, ever lose, especially when the 76ers are having a full-blown identity crisis and you can't take advantage of that. You lose by 4 at home. Then the Pacers. Normally that wouldn't be a bad loss because the Pacers are typically well-known contenders in the Eastern Conference, but the game before this, you blew them out by 20-plus points. Then you go and lose by 9. The Sacramento Kings, without De'Aaron Fox, do not have a winning record. Sacramento Kings, you lose by 17. You don't even put up 100 points against the Kings without De'Aaron Fox. And then again, against the Raptors, you still lost by 13 and refused to put up 100 points against the 9-31 Toronto Raptors. And after this loss specifically, Kristaps Porzingis told the media, I think we played with no spirit, with no personality. It's just a weak performance, honestly. We just play with no personality right now. I don't know, honestly. I think we just individually have to look at ourselves like, where can we improve? What do we need to do better? Are we fit? Are we this? Are we feeling good? Are we locked in mentally? And then try to fix some of the stuff that we have going on. But it's not the end of the world. Like, every team has ups and downs. Just that it feels like shit right now. And we played some bad basketball. So now my question for you guys right now, before I jump into what I think the Boston Celtics need to switch up, because I full-heartedly agree with Kristaps Porzingis. The Boston Celtics are playing with zero identity right now, and it's a very, very scary product to watch. What needs to change for Boston moving forward? How can Boston get out of this self-inflicted slump, if you want to call it, right before we get into the nitty-gritty the last 3 months of the season? Go on ahead and comment it down below. I'm going to give you guys my opinion right after you get hit with this YouTube ad break, so stick around because I may have a solution that could shake some things up. Boston needs to fix their starting lineup. And it's crazy because this is the exact same starting lineup that once instilled fear into other opponents in the NBA. Look at that lineup. You have two of the highest paid players in the NBA with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They're also continuously in the MVP conversation. You have the all-backcourt duo of NBA defensive players in Derek White and Drew Holiday. And then you've got the frickin' unicorn, 7'3" Latvian in the paint, that can also drain threes and score at all three levels. But this starting lineup is not working right now for Boston. And I'm going to break it down a little bit more here in just a moment, but I want to tell you guys real quick about our sponsor on today's show, and that is PrizePicks. This is a #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. I play PrizePicks every single game day, and I want you guys to join me as well. All you guys have to do is just pick more or less on a player's projected stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. That's right, up to 1,000 times your cash. You can do football, basketball, baseball, hockey, even Call of Duty. And this is honestly one of my favorite times of the year. Maybe not so much when it comes to basketball play, but when it is coming to football. And this weekend, there are a lot of games going head-to-heads, fighting to be the champion. So I will take the King, Henry, to have more than 97 rushing yards on the ground. Even though David Montgomery is expected to be back, I'll still take the ace, Jahmyr Gibbs, to have more than one rushing or receiving tutty. And then C.J. Stroud to have at least one passing touchdown. These are my prize picks. Feel free to copy them or go on ahead and make your own. You guys can go on ahead and get started by downloading the Prize Picks app using promo code CLNS. This will give you guys $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. One more time, download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code CLNS. This will give you guys $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. So let's take a look at the starting five for Boston moving forward. And keep in mind, they've only played 10 games together right now. And that, of course, is Porzingis, Brown, Tatum, White, and Holiday. In those 10 games, they have won 5. They have played 147 minutes of basketball together. They have a whopping, horrendous, -40 net rating. Their field goal percentage, all right, it's not too bad here, 47% from the field, but this is what keeps me up at night, these two last statistics. Knowing that Missoula ball is all about making the most efficient shot, and that typically lies with the 3 ball with Boston, 28%. You know what that tells me? That tells me they are taking way too many 3-point shots and not making nearly enough to keep this at an average 3-point percentage. And then the turnovers have become an ungodly problem. Nearly 40 turnovers in 147 minutes is disgusting. So, maybe let's take a step back and let's go back to the beginning of the season when Porzingis was injured. We saw Al Horford highlights pretty significantly for Boston Celtics. So what if we just switch it up a little bit and start Al a little bit more than we do Porzingis? When you start Al Horford, your offensive rating, your defensive rating become 10 times better. 121 of an offensive rating compared to a 108 with Kristaps Porzingis. That's a pretty notable difference. And then vice versa. 120 with your defensive rating? Who are you blocking? Who are you defending? Nobody with that type of rating. Minus 12 in the net rating with Porzingis. The only factor here that I do enjoy more is that I do think opponents' points in the paints have gone down significantly because Kristaps Porzingis has been in the paint more often. And then same thing with that three-point percentage. It's starting to get a little bit scary, but it should actually be flipped. But the 45% without Horford is how they're shooting from downtown. Horford doesn't take as many threes as Kristaps Porzingis, but he does take more efficient threes. So now I have a question for you. Should Horford start and should Porzingis close? Because the fourth quarter has been very daunting for the Boston Celtics. And I'll talk about their net rating in just a moment. But I think Al Horford should start for Boston with Porzingis coming in that first rotation with Pritchard and Sam Hauser, and then Porzingis should close. And if you guys agree with me, type Y for yes. If you don't, totally fine. Type N for no and let me know why you think he should start in the comment section down below. Let's be honest. You can start Porzingis because he's still fine. It is okay. They've only had 10 games together. But I don't think it's starting that's the Celtics' problems. It's closing. They normally actually do end up winning the first quarter going up against these teams. But then they lose that drive as the next three quarters do play on. And Boston has an issue with scoring and closing out in the fourth quarter. They did last year too, but it wasn't to this extent. The Celtics have the 23rd best net rating in the fourth quarter. They lost to the Raptors in the fourth quarter, the Kings, the Magic, the Pacers. You're getting outscored, and more importantly, going back to the fundamentals of basketball here, you're getting out-hustled. Because these opponents want nothing more than to take down the reigning champions. Meanwhile, Boston is sitting high and mighty just saying, hey, yeah, we just won. We're good. We're still on top. You're not. You're not even on top in the Eastern Conference, and the Eastern Conference is pretty shit this year. This is a conference that you should be competing for with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and yet you are succumbing to horrible ball teams in the second half of the game. Not to mention, something that was a factor last year, but it's really starting to influence the Celtics this year and how they're playing in that starting rotation. They don't have any bench. None. And I know that we have implemented some Drew Peterson and some Jordan Walsh in there throughout some games this last year, but it is truly Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser. And I'm going to be honest, Sam Hauser is having an off year. Pritchard, sometimes a little bit inconsistent. But when you look at what the Celtics bench is doing, it does not uphold to what the starting five should be producing night in and night out. That starting five used to keep Boston Celtics afloat. Now that the Porzingis starting five is starting to fall below the mid-level average and your bench isn't producing what it normally should, that is how you do not outscore opponents. You are 26 in points per game off your bench. 30 points coming from your bench on average. Sometimes Pritchard goes off, sometimes he doesn't. They are still shooting fairly well, though, but you're also plugging and playing guys like Neemias Queta, Luke Cornett, Sam Hauser, and Peyton Pritchard who are taught to implement that catch-and-shoot type of responsibility. In terms of shot creating, it could definitely be a little bit better. Rebounding, you're not really getting much off the bench. Assisting, you're damn well not, because just like I said, they're plugging and playing, catching and shooting. They're not shot creating, which puts you at the bottom of the barrel in terms of assisting. Peyton Pritchard is not enough. Hell, there are some nights I think Pritchard should start over Derek White, because Derek White has found himself to be in a slump that is dragging on throughout the month of January. Peyton Pritchard is not enough for the Boston Celtics bench to have those fresh legs, to have that fresh start, because even when Pritchard comes in, you still have starters on the floor with Pritchard, as you normally would. But I don't know if it's enough to fully rely on him and not shake things up moving forward. My last and final take here on this is, I know I sound like a Debbie Downer, but I'm tired of watching this team because I know this isn't Boston. We've seen this exact roster play in January last year, and it didn't look like this. But I want to reiterate, it is January. So you don't have to panic just yet. Not a lot of NBA teams give their 100% right now in the dog days of the NBA season. However, the All-Star break is 3 weeks away. After that, it is a full fast track of trying to catch up with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Why not start right now? Stop hurting yourselves by losing to the Kings and the Raptors and the Magic and possibly the Pelicans. Take those easy wins when you get it because you have a long stretch coming up and it starts right now. So my final question for you guys is it time to panic? Type P for panic, type C for chill. Let me know in the comment section if I'm just going off the rails here and if I should just take a step back. So go on ahead and comment that down below. And as always, if you guys want more Celtics news and rumors, you can find it right here at Celtics Today by Chat Sports. All you guys have to do to join 43,000 subscribers is hit that sub button for me.